Hello everyone, welcome to today's session all on about how to supercharge your lead generation. My name is Tim Cameron Kitchen. I'm the founder of Exposure Ninja. We're a digital marketing agency based in the UK. And in this session today, we're going to be talking about a specific lead generation strategy, or I guess a combination of different strategies that we've used for some clients with fantastic results. So I'm going to run you through a couple of case studies showing this particular strategy in action. I'm also going to break down the process, the principles behind this strategy as well. So you should have the principles plus how we implement the specifics. So I think sometimes when you just talk about principles, it can feel a bit theoretical. When you just talk about specifics, it can feel a little bit like, well, my business isn't quite like that, so I don't know how that relates. So hopefully by sharing the principles and the specifics, then you've got something that's really actionable and you can take back to your business. So we're just waiting for people to continue trickling in. If you're watching this on YouTube or on the webinar platform, then you can always post comments, you can ask questions, and please feel free to do so. I can see all of them in the chat as we go. So if you've got any questions, feel free to drop them in. I'm interested to see where you're tuning in from today as well, so do let me know where you're tuning in from. And we're just going to do a little bit of a quick survey too. So if you are a business owner, then just drop me a letter B in the chat, please. B for business. This just helps me to, I guess, calibrate the examples I give today to make sure they're most relevant to our listeners. So if you're a business owner, drop me a B. If you are a marketing leader, so you're a CMO or a director of marketing, then drop me an L for leader, please. And then if you're actually a marketing practitioner, you're one of the heroes that's actually doing the work, whether client or agency side, then drop me an M, please. Just interested to see what sort of mixture of viewers that we've got. And you can do this if you're on the webinar platform or on YouTube or on LinkedIn. So I can see all of the comments coming in. Good stuff. So it looks like we've got a good mixture of different roles. So B for business owner, L for leader, marketing leader, or M for a specific marketer. Okay, great stuff. While we're doing that, let's get cracking then. So we're going to be talking about how to supercharge your lead generation using a strategy that I'm calling niche audience stacking. This can be incredibly effective. It can be incredibly effective even for businesses that feel they are quite commoditized. So this is a great way of, I guess, finding better resonance with a target customer segment. And that's what we're going to be doing today. We're going to be identifying different market segments that we can run specific campaigns to. Welcome, Harriet. Welcome, Patrick. Welcome, Program Limited as well. Awesome. Patrick says, at times leads drop on our website while all parameters are normal. How to go about situations like this? Patrick, if we've got some time at the end, I'd like to drill into that situation in a little more detail. We've got about an hour scheduled. I don't think we'll need all of it, so we should have some time for Q&A at the end. Okay, great stuff. So like I said, I'm going to take you through a couple of different campaign case studies here, and we're going to break out the principles behind them. So you'll get both the principles and the specifics. Just a few stats for you to get started so you can see whether this is worth tuning in for. The first stats here. So in one of the campaigns, we're going to look at an example in finance. We're going to look at an example in healthcare, and both of these are lead generation examples as well. So we're not looking at e-commerce today, but if you're e-commerce, fear not, we might touch on some e-commerce stuff as we go. But you know, if you followed Exposure Ninja for a while, you'll know that the principles are the principles. What we're trying to do here is make people do things online. And it doesn't really matter what we're selling or who we're selling to or how we're selling. The principles are the principles, right? So you'll see that actually a lot of the value from today, or the value from these campaigns, was applying things that aren't typically used in that industry to get outsized results. So if you're e-commerce or if you're in a slightly different business space to healthcare or finance, really doesn't matter. The point is the principles are the principles. Anyway, the first example we're going to look at today generated a 7.6% conversion rate from cold Google Ads search traffic, in this case, to a landing page. That's pretty good, particularly in the space that they're in, where their average order value can be tens or even hundreds of thousands of dollars. We also hit our lead gen. In fact, we didn't hit our lead generation target. We absolutely decimated our lead generation target. So this business gave us a lead generation goal for the 12 months, the first 12 months of this campaign. And we beat that goal by 6x. And we beat that goal by 6x in not 12 months, but in 4 months. So we absolutely decimated our target here with the volume of leads generated, so much so they're now having to hire people, new people, to manage the leads that are coming in. The second example from today generated a 334% increase in leads. This is in healthcare, and contributed to the business growing from, I think, 1 or 2 clinics when we started. A couple of years later, there are 8, and they're continuing to grow because we built them a lead generation machine that works. So we're going to talk about the exact principles behind this, as well as their specific examples. Hi Phil, tuning in from Tokyo. Great, love it. Lots of interesting stuff going on in Japanese stock market last week. It's fascinating to see that. Hi Common Sense, and hi Dennis as well. So how do most businesses think about their digital marketing, or any of their marketing really? They imagine their target audience like this: one huge crowd, one homogenous blob. And if you zoom out from any target audience, that's basically what it looks like. It's very easy in marketing, particularly digital marketing, to sort of depersonalize our audience and just think of them as stats in an analytics or in an ad platform. Actually, the approaches that we're going to see today sort of show that if you can get a bit more detail, a bit more resolution on your audience, if you zoom in a little bit closer, you realize that actually there's different groups of sub-audience inside this main audience. And if we can target those, we get much, much better results. Much better results, because we can create a message that deeply resonates. Let's just brainstorm this. Let's play with this together, right? So here we can see this large audience. If you've got eager eyes, you might notice that quite a few of these people have Union Jack flags. Now, I don't know where this picture is taken from. I just found it on Google. But if there's lots of Union Jack flags, then I'd imagine that this might be some sort of British Jubilee or some sort of monarch celebration or something like that. Now, let's say that we had an exercise and we wanted to sell drinks to this audience, and our goal was to generate the highest ROI possible from selling drinks to this audience. There's a couple of ways that we could approach this, right? We could look at this audience and say, all right, we need to sell drinks. What's the most common drink that we could sell to this crowd that most people would like? Well, given that we're all like 70% water or whatever, you might say, right, let's sell water, because lots of these people are going to need water. And yes, we can set up a water stand at this event selling water. Now that might do fairly well. We might get some decent margin there. The trouble is going to be that lots of other people at this event are going to be selling water. So in all reality, we're going to have a bit of price compression. We're not going to have as much pricing power as we might like. And because there's going to be lots of vendors around the venue selling water, we're maybe not going to get the highest conversion rate with our crowd, because lots of them already have water in their hands when they come walking past. But let's say that we did a bit of audience research and we noticed that actually the Professional Association of Prosecco Lovers, or the Guild of Master Prosecco Drinkers, had used this event as their AGM. They decided to all turn up, and they were in one specific segment of the auditorium. They were in one block, hundreds and hundreds of expert Prosecco drinkers. Well, what we might do is, rather than selling water, trying to sell water to everyone, what we might do is say, right, we're going to set up a world-class Prosecco stand outside the entrance door for this particular audience. We know where they're sitting. We're just going to set up a Prosecco stand right outside, and we're going to sell Prosecco. Now, that's going to generally be a higher return on investment activity, because we're going to get less price sensitivity, because these people absolutely love Prosecco. We're going to have better conversations with them. So we're going to have a higher conversion rate, because we know they love Prosecco. So we can talk about the processes and all the grapes. So I don't really drink Prosecco, so I've got no idea, but we can talk about stuff that we know together, right? We can resonate better with them. We're also going to have less competition because there are generally going to be fewer sellers advertising Prosecco at an event like this than water. So you can see, using that slightly strange, someone said I would then sell washroom booth service. Yeah, exactly. The ultimate commoditized offering to this group is selling them access to a toilet, right? But anyway, the Prosecco drinkers booth is probably going to do a little bit better on margin than the water sellers booth because of all of those factors. And we can take exactly the same approach with our digital marketing. So broadly speaking, the strategy that we're covering today is this. We are choosing narrow audiences. So these are sub-audiences of your main business's target audience. We're choosing very narrow audiences. We're then driving these narrow audiences to high converting landing pages. One of the reasons these landing pages are high converting is because the audience is narrow, right? We can talk their language. We can show them pictures of people who are like them. We can really laser in on their pain points and very precisely match what they're looking for. We can do that on those landing pages, which is going to improve the conversion rate of those pages. We're going to drive them to tailored calls to action. You know the Exposure Ninja dictionary by now, so we're going to drive them to tailored CTAs because, again, we know their pain points, we know what they want, so we can make a CTA that works perfectly for them. And we're going to run targeted follow-up. So the email marketing, the ongoing marketing that happens once they fill in those forms, we can make that really targeted because we know who they are, we know they're super narrow, we know what they've come for, and we know the CTA that they've submitted. So because of all of that, we can make a really targeted follow-up sequence to them, which increases the chance that they're going to buy over the days, weeks, or months that follows, or even years that follows them coming to our page. Now, if you're a follower of EN stuff, if you've been tuning into the podcasts and videos for any length of time, none of these things individually are going to be any surprise to you. There's nothing particularly new or innovative about any of these one thing. What is interesting, though, what has made these campaigns so successful is the particular combination of these things and the execution and interplay between them. Okay, that's what's really made the difference here. And if we think about the importance of each of these things, if we want to really maximize the return on investment from a digital ad campaign, basically what we want to do is we want to reduce the cost per customer acquisition. That's essentially it. We want to get the best quality customers at the lowest possible price. And if we can do that, then we can build a scalable model that we can pump more and more budget into, knowing that we're going to get significantly higher return. That's the essence of the sort of direct response marketing that we're a big fan of over here. So let's think about why each of these individual components is essential if we're going to maximize the ROI of a campaign. Firstly, a narrow audience. What does a narrow audience give us? Well, fundamentally, a narrow audience gives us a high click-through rate. Think about our Prosecco drinkers wandering past the Prosecco stand. We're going to get their attention because we're selling them something that they're really interested in. And it's the same with your digital ads. If you've got a narrow audience that you're targeting with a specific set of ads, you can resonate with that audience in the message in those ads, which is going to make them much more likely to click. Now, the benefit, the benefit of high CTRs on most ad platforms is that ends up reducing your cost per click, increasing your ad quality score on Google Ads, for example, therefore reducing your cost per click, meaning you're actually spending less on the traffic because you're resonating so closely with it, so more of those people are clicking. Now, what does the high converting landing pages give us? Well, it basically gives us a conversion in fewer clicks. If we can get, like we have in the case I'm going to show you in just a second, if we can get a 7.6% conversion rate on a landing page, that means we're getting 7.5 conversions for every 100 visits versus the 1.4% conversion rate, the 1.4 conversions per 100 visits that they were getting before we did this. So we're generating around 5 times as many leads, right? Yeah, 5 times as many leads for essentially the same money. So this means fewer clicks required to get that conversion, which again brings the cost down. So we've got 2 cost levers that we're playing already here. We're probably paying less per click because we've got these narrow audiences with a higher CTR. And then we've got fewer clicks coming in to generate each conversion. Now, if we've got a tailored CTA, what that does is really help your side. That helps the sales team, that helps the business. This gets you a more qualified audience, because if you've got a very tailored CTA, you can make sure the leads coming through are highly qualified. It gives your sales team the ability to pre-qualify. And we know that the people coming through are actually interested because they're coming into the first step in your sales process. The targeted follow-up doesn't really impact necessarily the initial cost per acquisition. It doesn't impact the cost per lead. What it does is impact the cost per sale, because it gives us additional conversions down the line at very low cost. We've built email marketing automations for clients, for example. They may have spent a few £1,000s getting them built from us 5 months ago, or a year, or 2 years, or 3 years ago. Well, those same sequences are continuing to drive sales down the line for their customers, sometimes from people who've converted last week, but sometimes those sequences are still bringing out customers who joined that funnel a couple of years ago, right? So targeted follow-up gives you very low cost follow-on conversions. In fact, the incremental cost per conversion of someone who signed up for your email marketing is essentially zero. So very, very powerful and a nice sort of add-on bonus. So now let's go through the importance of each of these, or let's go through some of the specifics, of each of these areas, and I'll show you some examples. Important to say though, for this approach to work, everything needs to be built around specific audience segments. We're not trying to reach your entire audience here. We're not going out to that whole stadium full of people. We're going out to work out which groups of people we've got within that stadium. So we're trying to find the niche audiences inside that stadium. And then if we want, we can build out more of these niche audiences until we've got the whole stadium covered. But the important thing is we're not just going out to everyone at the same time. You can't get these sorts of conversion rates, generally speaking, unless you are tailoring your offering to a specific audience. So the two examples that we're going to look at today, one in healthcare, one in finance. These are the businesses, and the results sort of speak for themselves, really. So 334% increase in leads for this business, and a 7.6% conversion rate with ridiculous growth. I can't really give you their revenue numbers. I can't really give you their more detail on that, but the growth is absolutely ludicrous. And by the way, if you are interested in working with us, we can, of course, help you with this. I'm going to show you exactly how we did this for these clients in just a minute. But if you're interested in working with us at any point today, you can go to exposure.ninja/leads. That will take you to a booking page where you can book a call with one of the team to talk through how we might be able to implement this stuff with you. There's no obligation. We're not going to try and sell you on anything you don't need or anything like that. Doesn't matter whether or not you've had a free review from us in the past. You can go to exposure.ninja/leads if you want to talk to us about implementing this stuff for your business. Okay, let's talk a little bit more about this strategy then. And in particular, let's get started with this narrow audience concept. So like we said, every business's target audience actually can be viewed as a series of sub-audiences. Sometimes when we work with a client, they'll come in and say, we want to target anybody who needs email marketing. We're working with a client at the moment that sells email marketing software. Now, they didn't say this, but let's say that they're a typical business and they say, we just want anyone who needs email marketing software. That's fine. Very difficult to resonate with that. So what we'll instead do is help them work out which segment of that audience we can target first. Then, of course, over time, what we can do is build out additional segments so that we've got multiple different campaigns targeting each of these segments. But what we don't want to do is just go after everyone, just go after the homogenous blob. Very few businesses can sell the same thing to everyone, right? Or the same principles, the same selling points to everyone. How do we find this target audience? Well, unfortunately, there's no shortcut. It's basically just a lot of research. You can do this research with your team. You can do this research with your customers. You can do this research having a look at your competitors. So when we start with a campaign with a client, for example, we'll do some competitor research. We'll see what sort of audience segments their competitors are targeting, what sort of ads they're running, the landing pages that they're using, the testimonials, the language that they're using on those pages, to try and work out which specific characteristics of the audience are they targeting here. What messages are they matching with certain audience segments, so we can work out what we want to learn from. We also want to understand in depth the audience's pain points. We might do this actually by talking to the customers themselves. So one of the things that we do is something called a customer call research, where we'll actually contact our clients' customers and interview them and build out customer personas. I've just invested in a couple of businesses in construction. The first thing I did with these new businesses, before anything else, before the contracts were signed, is I gave them to the Exposure Ninja team and said, do this customer analysis, do this competitor call research, we have something called the brand accelerator, which digs into all of this. I said, do this, identify what the customer pain points are. I was on a call yesterday with the Exposure Ninja team where I was the client. It's a really weird situation. I was the client because they're doing this for the businesses that I invested in. And they came back with these customer personas and they absolutely nailed them. They identified things like the psychographic profile of these customers. So working out which parts of the proposition they were most likely to value. Really, really useful info, because that then allows us to tailor the copy to resonate with the values that this audience segment has. So by doing this, you learn a lot about your customers. It is a fair amount of work, though, I'll be completely honest, but well worth doing, because once you've got those personas, you can narrowly focus all of your marketing to them. Now, so those are the questions that we might answer. Those ask some of the questions that are just there. I want to give you some specific examples for these two clients of how we went about this, what we learned, and what we implemented as a result. So let's get started with the healthcare example. This is a business called Regain Hearing. They are an audiology clinic. So I'm just going to give you a quick primer on the audiology clinic industry for those who don't know, not because it's massively relevant, but it just helps you understand where these audience segments came from for this business. So audiology clinics, their business model is essentially they help people who have hearing loss by selling them hearing aids. And the hearing aids typically are between, say, $2,000 and $10,000. Or £10,000. So they're reasonably high value. Now in the UK, the market is essentially, you have these local audiology clinics. So this is what Regain Hearing is, a local audiology clinic, now a chain of audiology clinics. And then you have the big companies like Specsavers and Boots that offer audiology as one of their services. And it's very, very competitive. Online, incredibly competitive. If you want to rank on Google or you want to run ads for something like hearing tests or buy hearing aids, it is ruthless, because these huge companies pour loads and loads of budget into advertising and optimizing for these phrases. So it can be very difficult for smaller businesses to compete, or local clinics to compete. Now, when Regain Hearing came to us, they were pretty small, to be honest, and they wanted to compete. But when we started running the ads, we saw the numbers and thought, we just like running ads against these really broad terms, just it's not going to work. The numbers don't make sense. So what we had to do was segment the audience. Now, from talking to the client, we identified that there was a really cool opportunity that had arisen. In the UK, we have the NHS, which is the National Health Service. It's basically free healthcare. One of the services that the NHS offers, or offered, was earwax removal. Bit disgusting. As you get older, your ears get blocked full of wax, and then sometimes you need to go to doctor's surgery, and then they would clean them or syringe them out. Bit disgusting, but there we go. This was being removed from the NHS's list of treatments. So NHS was no longer going to be offering this service, which was going to give a bit of a void. It was going to produce a void where people couldn't get this work done. When we were talking to Regain, we were talking to the client about this, and they mentioned that actually they had people come into their clinics who thought that their ears were just a bit blocked up. Actually, it turned out that they had early stage hearing loss, and they could then sell them hearing aids. So this gave us a bit of an idea, and we combined these two concepts and actually ran some ads targeted at free earwax removal. Now, why would we do this? Why would we spend money running ads for a free service? It makes no sense. Well, the clicks were incredibly cheap because we weren't competing against many businesses. Not many businesses go, right, today we're going to offer a free service. Let's put loads of budget behind advertising this free service. Aren't we great? That sounds like a terrible idea on paper, but we knew the conversion rate that Regain was going to get from these free appointments was going to mean that this was definitely worthwhile. The cost per hearing aid sale would actually be lower than if we're advertising the hearing aids. So that's exactly what we decided to do. We found a segment of the audience, which was people who thought they just needed their ears cleaned, who would then come in and then buy these hearing aids. We ran the ads against the landing page for that and did incredibly well for them. So that's how we found the audience for the hearing clinic. Let's talk about the mortgage business, because it's exactly the same concept, but it's a very different story. So again, selling mortgages, this business is based in the US. They sell loads and loads of mortgages. The market for mortgages is incredibly broad. Who needs a mortgage? Well, it's pretty much anyone who wants to move home. Anyone who wants to buy a home needs a mortgage. So on the surface of it, you'd say, right, well, what are we going to advertise? We're going to advertise mortgages. We're going to target the phrase mortgages. The problem, really competitive. Loads of big businesses plowing millions of dollars a month into their digital ad budget for mortgages. Very, very difficult to compete. What we did is we spoke to DSLD to find out what specific customer segments they had the best conversion rates with. They found to be the best clients. They mentioned military veterans, and there's actually a military veteran loan offering called a VA loan. So what we decided to do was, instead of targeting everyone in the world of mortgages, we decided to very specifically focus on the VA loan market. Now, how do you find military vets who are looking for a mortgage? Not the easiest thing in the world. Some of them are searching VA loan because they know that thing exists. But many of them are just searching for mortgage. They just happen to be military veterans. So how do we get in front of these people? Well, we used a couple of different strategies. One of them was feeding Google with the customer data, the first-party customer data that they already had. The other was, we worked out that if we ran ads to specific postcode radiuses around military bases, there was a high proportion of military veterans in those areas. So if we ran ads to people searching for mortgages and they were based in a certain radius around military bases, that was going to get us some really good VA loan lead gen. And that's exactly what we did. So you can see there, finding these audience segments actually makes it much better value than if you're just targeting the broad market. Of course, the next component of this is to build tailored landing pages for these audiences. Now, the benefit of having these niche audiences is you can make everything about that landing page really specific to the audience. The imagery, the text copy, the CTA, it can all match the intent of that specific target audience, which again means that you get a much higher conversion rate and many more leads for the cost. So when we did this for Regain, for example, a 534% increase in revenue. Another component of being a high converting landing, something else that tends to come out of this is when you're doing this type of audience segmentation and research, you end up identifying messages that are really going to match your audience strongly. And you end up learning, actually, we can convert this audience better. Now that we've done this work, we can even go back to our main website and completely redesign it. We actually did that with both of these businesses on the back of this work, because we've done so much work to identify their target audience and resonate with them. We were able to build them websites that converted all of their traffic much better as a result. So you can then take the lessons from these specific niche campaigns and apply them to the rest of your business. And of course, these things all have an impact on cost per lead. Because remember, the narrow audiences means that you're getting a higher click-through rate, typically lower CPC. Your high converting landing pages means a lower cost per acquisition because you've got a higher conversion rate. Your tailored CTA means more qualified leads, and your targeted follow-up means basically free additional conversions on the back end. So that's why the CPAs for these two businesses dropped significantly, whilst we significantly increased their ad budget. So a lot of the time, if you've run PPC, you might find that when you start advertising, you get a pretty decent CPA. As you start to scale that advertising, your CPA drops and drops and drops and drops until it gets to a point of being not particularly profitable. Whereas with these campaigns, because we were still targeting those very specific audiences, we got a drop in CPA whilst getting an increase in the lead volume. So we got the best of both worlds, which is obviously great. Okay, and again, if you want some help with this, then the team who did this, by the way, I did none of this work. I didn't come up with any of these strategies at all. This was all the team at Exposure Ninja, the same team that you'll be working with if you are a client of ours. So you can go to exposure.ninja/leads. If you want to talk to one of the team, you'll see a link on that page to book a call with one of the team. You just book in, they'll guide it for you. They'll say, we'll help you work out whether this might be a suitable thing for you to do. We can work on a package that will make sense for you. And if it's relevant, then we can get started. There's no obligation. You can go on that page, book a call with the team. They'll even review your PPC and your landing pages at no charge, and then decide whether or not you want to work with us. Okay, so what do you do with this? Or how do you actually implement this stuff for yourself? Well, you've basically got a couple of options. Of course, we can do this stuff for you, or you might be following these steps on your own or with your internal team. If you're going to be following these steps on your own or with your internal team, here's what you would do. Here are some of the things that you would do on your journey. One of the first things that you can do is speak to your sales team if you've got one. If you are the sales team, then hey, you can skip this step. But you can speak to your sales team. What you're really looking to do is understand what your sales team sees as a high quality lead. This could be leads that close fast. It might be leads that have the highest spend. Usually, you'll find that these leads are a small segment of customers, and your most experienced salespeople can see a good quality lead from a mile off. They know some of the things about that lead that make it high quality. What you need to do is identify what those things are. Because the next thing that you need to do is find the links between your best leads. Okay, find the links between your best leads. If you can do that, and obviously the larger the sample size you've got, the more robust the links will be. Then you've got the basis of a campaign that you can run ads to. So going back to the veterans example, location targeting. What's the commonality amongst our best leads for the veterans mortgage? Oh, they all live within X miles of a military base. Okay, great. So we can now take that criteria, we can use that criteria in the ads to find more like them. Okay. Another client who we had, this was years ago now, they sold fancy shoes via e-commerce. I talked about this recently in a video. They sell fancy shoes by e-commerce. Now, logic would tell you, well, you don't really need any sort of location targeting in a Google shopping campaign for fancy shoes, right? Well, we found out there are particular postcodes in London that they sold a lot of their fancy shoes because these postcodes were less price sensitive, and there are lots of people in those postcodes, particularly in certain demographics, that like these fancy shoes. So we had bid adjustments on these audiences so that we could get more of these clicks. So sometimes the links aren't necessarily the things that you would assume, right? If you go to a mortgage company and say, I think we should run ads with a certain geographic radius around military bases, they probably look at you and think, wait, what? What are you talking? If you go to an e-commerce store that sells shoes and go, you know what, we should run these ads in specific postcodes in London, they probably look at you like you're mad. So sometimes these links aren't apparent immediately. It's only after identifying these segments and doing a bit of research and a bit of digging that the links come out. But they are usually there. Okay, really, really important to do that. Once you've got these links, or if you're having trouble finding these links, you can also speak to your customers directly. Again, I said before, the Exposure Ninja team have a service called the Brand Accelerator, which talks to your customers. They call up your customers for you and drill into what they like, what they are afraid of, their goals in life, like lots and lots of information, data collection basically, which they can then use to work out what the links are between your best customers. So your customers can be a really rich source of information. Siri's getting in on the action. Another thing that you'll want to do is identify niche search terms. So this was this was particularly important for the financial example that we looked at, because actually some of these people are searching for very niche search terms. What you might find in some of these cases is that actually the number of the traffic volume behind some of the terms that you're targeting is pretty low on a relative basis. It might be pretty low on a relative basis, but if that low volume is really high quality, amazing, right? I would take that over a very broad audience with very low quality and low targeting almost any day. Because remember, the broader audience, the more you're typically going to be paying to reach them. No, the more you're going to be paying for all of those visitors, and the lower quality you're going to have. So it's okay to be targeting niche search terms, particularly if they're only one component of your targeting mix. Then, of course, you need to reflect all of these things in your PPC and landing pages. So your PPC ads, you're going to write them using the problems that your customers have told you that they've got, the benefits that you know you have over any of your competitors when you're serving that particular audience. These things are also going to need to be pulled through to your landing pages, where you're going to be basically reflecting your audience back to you. Your landing pages should be reflecting your customers' problems back to them, showing your customers a solution to the problem that they've got. And the better you can do that, the closer you can match their experience, typically the higher the conversion rate you'll get. And of course, the CTAs are going to need to be optimized as well. So you've got a few options. You either do this stuff yourself, and by doing it yourself, I typically mean like hiring multiple people or using multiple people across your company. You may want to hire an agency, or you may want to do nothing about this at all. I don't think that Exposure Ninja viewers are typically the ones who do nothing. If you're going to be doing this yourself, or if you're going to be using your internal team, I just want to set expectations about how much you expect from each person, right? Because we've had a few conversations along this line recently where I've spoken to people who expect in one case, the ops person, who is also pretty handy at their CRM, is now going to be designing the website and doing the email marketing. And so said, well, okay, so we would have one person design the website, another person coding the website, because those are completely different skills. The web copy for the website is another skill. Then you've got the email marketing. Yes, the copy could probably be done by the same person who did the copy for the website, but building the email automation sequence, designing them and putting those all in, the behavioral triggers, that's another skill set as well. So in the 4 steps that we've got, the niche audiences, the PPC, the landing page, the CTA, 5 steps, and the email marketing, we might have 6 or 7 specialists who spend their entire careers doing that job, right? The PPC person spends 40 hours a week doing PPC. They're not doing 2 hours a week PPC and then 3 hours a week answering the phones. They are just doing PPC across lots of different campaigns in different industries, which gives them amazing experience. So if you're going to be trying to compete with that, with, Bob from reception is going to do all of this on his own, okay, I just want to set expectations. You're probably not going to be getting a 7.6% conversion rate, because there's going to be limits to the capabilities, there's going to be limits to the quality of each of those components. Of course, you can hire an agency. We'd be very happy to help you if you want. The people who actually did this work, all absolute ninjas, or ninja, apparently. Phil said, good to see you using the correct plural of ninja, which is ninja. Wow, okay, I didn't know that. Shocking if true. If anyone can confirm, please let me know. But if you want to work with the team that actually did this work, then of course you can go to exposure.ninja/leads and request a call with one of the team, and we'll be more than happy to help. So I can see we've got some questions that have come in through from today. If you've got any questions at all, please drop them in the chat. I'm also interested to see if anybody thinks they have a PPC campaign and a landing page or their website which they think absolutely nails this concept of audience segmentation. So do you have a landing page that really strongly resonates with a particular target audience? If you're feeling brave, stick it in the old chat and we can get it up and have a look, because I think it'd be really interesting to see some examples. Okay, so we have some questions here which have come in. I will do my best to answer each of them. So Patrick, hi Patrick, says, tuning in from India. At times leads drop on our website while all parameters are normal. How to go about in situations like these? Okay, be interested to get a bit more context there, Patrick. Are you seeing that traffic volumes are consistent? It's just the number of conversions that are dropping. The first thing that we would look at is where in the sequence are people dropping off, right? So is it traffic volumes are normal, but conversions are down? If conversions are down, are they down by more than you might expect? We'd also track this against things like seasonal variance. So for example, we get a typically lower conversion rate during the summer months when people tend to be on holiday. You can only build up that understanding over a period of time, but knowing sort of year on year and comparing year on year and month on month can give you some sort of vibe for seasonal variations. But basically just trying to diagnose where in the thing they're falling off. Are they just falling off at the conversion point? So if you've got same number of visitors but lower conversions, if so, I might look at things like page load times, Is the form working properly? Is the form integration working properly? Those things to try and diagnose if there's anything specific. I would also say there is just a weird thing in marketing where sometimes you just have a really bad day, or sometimes you just have a really good day. Like that has happened a few times. In fact, it happens with Exposure Ninja every so often. And those of us who are take an eye on the Exposure Ninja marketing go, what's going on? It's just been a low lead day, right? And there's nothing you can do about it. Tomorrow, you're going to be all right. And then you look over time and you're broadly okay. So I think it's worth digging into a bit more detail there and finding out exactly where people are dropping off. Okay, so Jacopo has said, do you have any in-depth training for overall holistic digital strategy, PPC, meta ads, CRO, and so on? Overall holistic digital strategy. To be honest, most of the stuff that we publish on our YouTube is around these. We don't tend to go, we used to go really in depth with things like, here's how to write meta descriptions, or here's how to run specific ads on Google. We don't tend to do that because there's loads of that stuff out there. The other thing is that as you get more competitive in digital marketing, it's less about following best practice and it's more about doing what's specifically right for that campaign. And that can make it quite tricky to make sort of broader trainings. So we don't tend to focus on that stuff so much these days. We tend to talk more like bigger picture about like overall digital strategy, really, rather than like specifics of, here's the settings to use in meta ads or whatever. So yeah, that's what I'd share there. But if you want some help from the team, then of course we'd be happy to help if you just reach out. Okay, next question is Vaishali says, my problem is Google Ads clicks never match with Google Analytics. Yeah, well, this is a pretty common thing. I mean, every ad platform will try and take credit for more conversions than Google Analytics will necessarily give it. And what's the solution? It's difficult to know. I mean, firstly, making sure that you're comparing like for like is a good idea. So you can, of course, pull through Google ad conversions into Google Analytics and vice versa. Making sure that you're not looking at view through conversions or something in Google Ads where it's trying to take credit for conversions where Google Ads was one of the steps in the journey, but wasn't, the final click, the last click. Making sure you're using the same attribution model. Overall, though, it's fairly common that you'll find this. And I think what the sort of conclusion that we reach a lot of the time is, as long as the data is consistent, so as long as you're comparing Google Ads to Google Ads conversion data over time, there is going to be a bit of a breakdown. There's going to be a bit of an argument going on between Google Analytics and Meta, exactly the same, right? Where you're going to get different conversion numbers measured. But a lot of these platforms have slightly different ways of measuring, which can lead to some variance. Okay, do we have any other questions? We got anyone brave enough to share us their website so we can look at this niche strategy and see if they're targeting their audiences very specifically? I'd love to see some examples of this. Any other questions? Please feel free to drop them in. I can't wait to tell you about the businesses that I've invested in. They're going through the whole process with Exposure Ninja right now. Really, really exciting. So took them on there both in construction, or it's one construction business that we've basically split out into two brands. And they're going through the whole website building process from the brand accelerator, where we're rebranding them completely, even coming up with the names, doing all the logos, doing all the brand guidelines, tone of voice, everything, redoing their entire website, doing all of their digital marketing. It's been great fun to be a client of Exposure Ninja as well. Really, really useful. Really useful experience, and amazing to see the team doing what they do, because obviously I see it from from the founder's perspective, but I don't necessarily get to be the client, so it's really great to see that. Vaishali said, I put in my site URL. I can't see that, dude. I don't know if you're able to reshare it or if Dale has seen it. Dennis said, I got mine. I think it's okay, but it's not English, sadly. Maybe YouTube is blocking people from sharing their URLs, because I'm not seeing any URLs. I don't know if there's a tricky way that you can do this by leaving spaces or something. Dale might be able to give us some advice on that. Try sharing it without the dot before the com. There you go. There you go. Janine says, thank you for calling out the fact that digital marketing shouldn't be a one-person thing. Yes, absolutely this. I spoke to someone who they decided to build an in-house marketing team. And by building an in-house marketing team, what I really meant is they decided to hire their friend's daughter who wanted to get into digital marketing. And the thinking was that this person was going to be able to do everything from building the website, running the ads across different channels, doing the SEO. And I thought, I actually said to him, if you find one person that can do more than 2 of those things well, please let me know. Because I found 2 people in the history of Exposure Ninja that can do really good development, coding, and design. So found 2 people that can actually build a website themselves. That's how rare that skill is. The rest of the time, you need a designer and a developer, right? Sometimes multiple developers if there's more, So it's just crazy that people expect single people or individual people to be able to do all of these things. Maybe back in the day when websites all looked homemade because half of them were homemade, that was okay. But as things go, as digital marketing gets more complex, if you think about it, most industries now, if you're running PPC ads, you're going up against professionals. You're going up against like shredded beasts who are doing this all day, every day. And if you're going to turn up to, a game against Real Madrid and you've got a few mates and some of them are still hungover, you're going to get decimated. Right? They might be really good painters. They might be really good artists. They might be really creative copywriters. But if you're going to get them to play against Real Madrid, they're going to get destroyed. Right? And I think it's the same thing with marketing disciplines. Like it's niching down and down, isn't it? It's really difficult. Okay, we got a site, asphaltkingdom.com. Got another question from Phil I'm just about to do that. Asphalt Kingdom, one sec. Phil said, do you think that these techniques are applicable to any industry? Yes, well, all of the ones that we've tried them in anyway, Phil. Of course, there's different ways of tweaking these. There's different implementations, but the principle of niching the audience down, I was trying to think, is there any audience where there isn't like a real sort of niche approach? I thought maybe, emergency locksmiths, because emergency locksmiths don't care whether they target people based on, you don't have like, oh, we're emergency locksmiths, but we only work with semi-detached houses. Or we're emergency locksmiths, but we only work with certain types of locks. Like, you just don't get that, do you? But then I thought, actually, do you know what? You would have a niche strategy with an emergency locksmith because, of course, you've got radius targeting, you've got location targeting. You don't want to be called in the middle of the night to go and do an emergency locksmith job 200 miles away. But you've also probably got customers that are going to be more valuable to you. Let's say your emergency locksmith group that targets private landlords, for example, who are going to have loads of properties and they just want someone on call for all of their properties. So that could be a strategy that would work really well. I actually can't think of too many industries where emergency locksmiths don't need to niche. Exposure Ninja said you do get emergency locksmiths only for specific luxury cars, I think. Yeah. Apparently, anyone can be an emergency locksmith for Range Rovers, which explains the insurance premiums. But anyway, asphaltkingdom.com. Let's have a look at this website then. Let's get something up and have a look. It's been a while since we've done some live, I was going to say teardowns. We don't call them teardowns anymore because people got a bit sensitive about that. But what we're really looking at together is, are we targeting our niche audience to the extent where they would recognize themselves being called out here? So that's the question that we're trying to answer. So all feedback welcome on here. Now we've got 3 target customers here, which I think is really great. This is basically what we're talking about. If this is a bit small, let me see if I can zoom in. There we go. I'm a property manager, save me money. I'm starting a new business, show me how. I'm a pavement contractor, help me grow. I think you've nailed, I don't know if these are the right audiences for you, but I'm imagining, given how well you've found their needs, I'm imagining these are pretty good audiences for you. I think you've nailed what these people want to do. The pavement contractor is focused on growth. The new business is focused on needing advice. And the property manager wants to save money. Really good. Now, I might think about bringing that up further on the page. I might even think about calling these audiences out at the top here. But the fact that we've got these audiences actually in the menu is really encouraging. So let's go down. Let's click on one of these. Let's say that we're a property manager. Let's save us some money here. Oh, we've even got sub niches of the niche, right? We can do it ourselves. We can have them do it with us, or we can get them to do it for us. So that's great. And we've got some options there. I think this looks pretty good. Now, what I'm not getting from this at the moment is why you? Why you over anybody else? Because if you are, if I'm a if I'm a property manager, you know my needs. You can hopefully um, call my needs out and demonstrate how you can serve my needs better than anybody else's. This might be done through a testimonial at the top of the page from a property manager. Let's see if we got one. Let's get a testimonial at the top of the page. This Asphalt Kingdom saved me tons of money as a property manager. That's really important to me that I get that, blah, 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 blah. As soon as you do that, I'm like, as a property manager, I see another property manager. Oh, this looks good. This is for me. This is me. That's the response we want. Great. This looks perfect for me. And then I can see these 3 next steps. So I think we can maybe focus on that. This looks pretty good. Whether these buttons, whether that's the right place for these buttons, I'm not entirely sure. I'd probably want to know. I mean, talking about niching this down, this is really great because you've got different subcategories of subcategories of subcategories, which is fantastic. Yeah, this is great. This is really good. Yeah, this is perfect. I mean, I think that I'm not going to lie, the overall layout of this page could be improved. I would probably make this a landing page. At the moment, it looks like it's maybe a blog. I'm not sure. I think you can improve the layout of this page. This might be like asphalt supplies for hospitals or something like that. And this might be a keyword that gets 5 searches a month. But hey, the quality of those searches is going to be monster, absolutely monster. And if you can make this page really compelling and demonstrate, whether it's a testimonial, you've got one here. Get a testimonial from them. Let's get, there's the testimonial. I get that up front, right? Get that up. Get this guy. Get Dick. Is it Dick? I'm sure I just said, yeah. Get Dick to do your selling for you, right? Dick's going to do your selling right at the top of the page. Nice fat testimonial tells all the hospital people why you are the best solution for them. So I think you've got your audiences nailed here. I really do. I hope that you've been. I hope this has come from Exposure Ninjas. I'm proud to see this sort of thing going on. I get that. Get that testimonial nice and prominent. Improve the performance of this page. I wouldn't expect that the conversion rate is particularly high on this page. But yeah, this is good. You know your target audiences, so now it's just about executing against that. Okay, great. We've got a couple of minutes left, not too long. So just gonna see if we got any other questions come in. Janine's got back. Sometimes I feel like I'm drowning and our leads aren't converting right now. Our job is oh, crikey. Okay. Selling AI services, yeah. Sometimes the AI doesn't help, does it? Right. Okay. Well, happy to talk a little bit further around that. It sounds like there might be. Where's it gone? Sounds like there might be some issues there. If the leads aren't converting, that might be a lead quality issue. So you might want to look at what people are converting on. So what's the CTA that you're using? Does that genuinely imply that they have some commercial intent? Are they actually looking to buy something? Or do they just think they're signing up for something else altogether? The other thing I might look at is the handover process between that lead coming in and what the sales team is doing with that lead. What's the message they're going out to? For example, is the lead coming in, downloading a free book, for example, the sales team's immediately trying to close them, or there's a delay between the request and the sales call. So that to me sounds like a process thing if it's not a qualification thing. And then, of course, working your way further up the funnel. So if it's not a qualification thing, if it looks like it's good, then are we running ads to the right target audience? Do they have enough budget? Do we need to segment our audience slightly differently so we find the people that are likely to buy the thing? Let's say that we're selling AI transformation services to businesses through LinkedIn ads, for example. Are we choosing businesses that have a high enough revenue to be able to afford this thing, but maybe not so high that they're working with like a BCG or something to do it? So, yeah, I think about some of those things. Great stuff. Okay, we are going to wrap up then, unless anybody has any final questions, and I will. Oh, I've got one here. I do have another website, so we're going to take a quick look at this one. I think this might be the AI one. Let's have a go. Okay, here we are. Transform data into valuable outcomes. So feedback, welcome, of course. Please, everyone, dig in, have a go. This is for a website called Clear Objects. So first thing I'd say about this website is it doesn't look like it's been designed for large screens, that's for sure. All right, let's get it on a slightly smaller screen then. So transform data into valuable outcomes. AI data analytics are the world's toughest problems. Clear Objects creates bespoke solutions across vision AI, generative AI, cloud migrations, and complex data analytics. So I wonder if your challenge might be exactly what we're talking about today. This tells me what you do, but it doesn't necessarily tell me the benefits. Valuable outcomes is such a generic statement, isn't it? And I appreciate it has to be generic because you do lots of different things for lots of different types of business. But I wonder if you're not getting traction, you might want to focus on one specific audience and one specific challenge to begin with. So let's just have a look and see what we've got under these. So let's say we've got manufacturing. I can see something for manufacturing. What we might want to do is focus on something like this, so OEE. So if we're going to target overall equipment effectiveness, we got a little spelling mistake there, which might not be great. We are going to have to find an audience which really cares about this and then drive that audience to this page. I'm going to be brutally honest, this page is not designed for cold traffic. It doesn't do enough to explain what Clear Object is about. I don't think it looks that great, if I'm going to be totally honest. And Janine, I know you're completely overworked. You're trying to do all of this yourself. So I have nothing but admiration and sympathy for you, it sounds like. But, we need to make this page look really good. Talk to us about OEE. What's the incentive to do that? I'm not entirely sure. Who is the target audience for the OEE product? What I'd love to see is something like we're talking about with the asphalt. Let's get this target audience talking about how Clear Objects has helped them with their OEE metrics and how this has had some amazing benefit for them. Let's just be a bit more specific, I think, around this. Because we've got sort of the message here, although it's more features rather than audience. Now it's just a case of resonating more in order to get an improvement in conversion rate. But there are some specific things here. On the homepage, we're not getting any of that specific things. This seems sort of really generic, which it's tough. I know it has to be, but if we think back to the asphalt example, is there a way that we can segment this? So what does Clear Vision do? We don't necessarily want to talk about our products because nobody knows what they mean. We might want to talk about, we help businesses do X, Y, and Z. And we put everyone into these 3 buckets. They click on a bucket to see how that impacts them, get more information about them, like choose their own journey type thing. And then there's a tailored CTA that helps them get to that goal next step. Really, no brainer. So I think it would be really interesting to have a conversation around this. We've got lots of different financial services here. If you're not getting resonance across lots of them, I'd maybe pick 1 or 2 to start. You might just want to design some specific landing pages for them. You got some good client names here, so a lot of credibility there, and it's it's not a bad looking website. We got, wow, look at that. That's from the CEO of Toyota. Respect. I'll probably be leading with that. This might be one of those where the proposition is really there. It's just very difficult to communicate actually on the website. In which case, sometimes it really helps to have a third party, like an outsider, go, okay, you are super clear about what your business does. We need to help you sort of make that clearer for different target audiences. Sometimes having an outsider can really help sort of unpick all of this stuff, work it around, and then present it in a way that's really compelling. So feel free to request a free website and marketing review. I know not everyone's eligible, but feel free to request it. And if we can help, then we will. Okay, we're going to wrap up there. I hope this has been useful today, everyone. Do feel free to drop any questions into the YouTube video if you're watching this on replay, and we'll try to answer them as best we possibly can. And keep an eye out for our next videos and all the podcasts and stuff that's coming out. And don't forget to request your free website and marketing review from the team at exposureninja.com/review if you haven't already. Remember, not everyone is eligible, so you do need to request this. If you go to exposureninja.com/review, then there'll be a form that you can fill in to do just that. Thank you, everyone, and I will see you next time.